I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And today we're going to be talking about tips for communicating with an avoidant partner. If you're dating somebody that has an avoidant attachment style, it can be really difficult at times, particularly if you're anxious and you desperately want to feel that connection to them, right? You're just dying to communicate with them, talk about what it is on your mind, and you're like, I just want to talk about it, right? You want to resolve something, you need to share something with them about your feelings, or get on the same page with them about something, maybe make a major decision, even sometimes a minor decision, right?
Yeah.
And it could be just so frustrating to communicate. But you have to kind of adapt to who you're dating. And if you're going to have a successful relationship, you have to know what your partner's strengths and weaknesses are. And if communicating's an area they struggle, you got to tread lightly, I think, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some of these tips.
Right, so the first tip is vodka. Just kidding. So the first tip is paying attention to timing of when you bring things up. So I know that we've said this before, but it's always good to remind you that when a person is hungry, tired, sick, angry, stressed, or sad, that bringing up big topics to talk about or big decisions is not the ideal time. Try to find a time where your partner is well rested and you have some free time together to put it on the table and talk about it. So some of you might have heard that list and be like, well, my partner is sad all the time, or my partner is tired all the time. Try to find that exception. Also, during a conversation when you bring things up, you might find somebody with more of an avoidant attachment style immediately get visibly nervous or anxious or try to escape. They might suddenly have an errand to run, or they need to go take a shower or go for a walk. As soon as you try to bring anything related to feelings or any type of decision, notice these triggers and notice exactly what subjects that you're talking about that trigger them. You can get a better idea of what sparks that fear in them, and you can even tell them, hey, I noticed that you act a certain way about this certain topic. You can try to be direct with them about these things.
Yeah.
Which people tend not to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the secret.
Yeah. Another thing that you want to do, and I think this is so critical, is just talking about it a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are anxious, you are like, blah, and it all comes out at once, and the avoidant just can't handle that. So you don't want to blah, vomit everything all over them. You want to just do a little bit. You talk about it a little bit. If you see that they're overwhelmed or shutting down, be aware of it. You have to be aware that your anxiety is going to likely make you push to talk about things, so it helps you with your own anxiety. But if you continually do this with them, it's just going to push them away, and they're not going to be able to handle all that communication or closeness or discussing those big things.
Give them some cookies or something else they like. What about saying we need to talk? Aren't those ominous words?
Oh, aren't they ominous words?
We
My
need to
stomach
talk.
just got in a knot when you said it.
Right. So what can you say to them? We need to communicate. Here's some cookies. Got a few minutes? What do you think? What do we do?
You could say, there's something on my mind that I want to talk to you about. That's a little bit less ominous.
Yeah.
How about that I want to share with?
Or I want
Yeah.
to share with you. That's good.
Or ask when they have time to. Another thing that you can do is also think about what you want to talk about and condense it in your own mind. Especially if you have more of an anxious attachment style, you might have that word vomit tendency, like Craig was saying.
Yeah.
So it might be better if you write it out. For me personally, I use a whiteboard, and I like to just write out my thoughts so I have a better idea of really the message that I want to get across. So if you're able to do this and condense it, then that will help it be better received by your partner.
Yes, short and sweet.
Yeah. So another tip is also to give them that space to process what you just talked about. Once again, if you have more of an anxious attachment style, you might want an answer right away.
That's right.
And this is not always practical. People do need time to think things over and to make up their mind about things. So take your time, not only in telling them, but in also giving them that time afterwards. Some people can be very demanding about this and might expect an answer right away to the point where it gets controlling. We really don't want you to do this. We want you to be able to be patient. And that's the hard part, especially if you're anxious.
Absolutely. And this is a time you plan to get everything out, and it's likely that everything will come out.
Right.
Not a good idea.
And you can even talk with friends or family beforehand if you have the feeling that, oh no, I'm just going to let everything spill. Talk it out with somebody first if that can help.
Yeah. Also, you want to think about, communicating through maybe less direct methods, because that might be overwhelming. I mean, you want to look at your partner and see if this works for them. Maybe, you do notes or leave them little notes or different things that are less overwhelming than let's sit down and have this big, huge conversation.
Right. The buildup will make them crazy.
Yeah. So maybe you have to do it in a text message or, like leaving them a little note on the table. Say, I just wanted to tell you something that's been on my mind. It might work for your particular partner to do something like that. And it may feel a little bit awkward and uncomfortable, particularly if you're anxious at first, because you're like, I want to tell them all this stuff. But like Vicky was saying, maybe just making it condensed and getting the essence of the point across that you need to share in a shorter way would be less overwhelming and intrusive for them.
Yeah, and I think most people's response when people want to talk to them is that they get anxious. What am I in trouble for? I mean, who as a kid didn't experience saying, oh God, what am I in trouble for? And you can absolutely ask, is it more comfortable for you if we live in the same house and text than if we talk? And if it is, okay.
And sometimes you'll see that your partner is using these methods or are able to express themselves more using those methods than in speaking. And this is interesting because you might see a generally avoidant partner having a hard time with words, but being amazing at communicating over text or amazing at writing poetry or whatever it is. So pay attention to your partner and the ways that they communicate. It might be a gateway in order to understand each other better. So the last tip is to share with them what you know about attachment styles and attachment theory. Many people who are avoidant have no idea that they are this way. It hasn't occurred to them. In fact, many people will say, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm normal. So if you're able to have a discussion about their avoidance in a very gentle and approachable way, so this can help them see the way that they've been in relationships.
Margaret, any thoughts about that? Because one of the areas that I haven't seen over the years that was really helpful is communicating with the avoidant about their avoidance.
Yeah, they don't say thank you very much. I'm normal, I'm fine, and I'm independent. Leave me alone. Okay, it isn't easy. So again, you have to approach it very, very cautiously and say, there's nothing that you can say that's going to make me not love you. There's nothing you can say that's going to make me faint or die. Open your mouth and please let some words come out. Okay? If they have a sense of humor, it makes everything easier. Okay?
Yeah, that can really be helpful.
Oh, yes. Now, listen, I have 10 minutes. That might be too much time for you to fill up with some words, but can you try? All right? One of the other things always is when you talk with anyone who's with an avoidant, their hope and their wish is to change that person or to want that person to change. And our friend Dr. Gottman points out that we have to be willing to accept people exactly how they are. We can then encourage them to grow and change. But the person has to know that you love them just as they are, even though we want more for them.
Or from them.
Or
Yeah.
from them, yeah.
It's not easy.
No, it's
not
not
an easy balance
No,
to
it's
figure
not.
that out because you have your needs too.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the whole caring and limits thing. You know, the healthiest kids in the world come from parents who love them and set limits when they need to, okay? And most of the world has split everything into black and white. And sometimes I think we forget that we can challenge other people in very loving ways, you know? I'd like to see you get more out of life. I'd like to see you be less anxious. I'd like to see you be a little happier and able to be happy. I think you have some things you need to unlock. I mean, you don't have to give them hell, you know?
I do want to jump in and say this one thing before I forget. We are not telling you to reach out to your ex while you're in no contact to tell them they are avoidant.
No. No.
A question I hear
Yeah.
on a regular basis. No, do not reach out and break no contact to say, and I think you should look at this avoidant attachment style because it feels like you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people ask that.
Yeah.
What you really need to say is, I love you, avoidance and all, but could we learn maybe 20 more words?
Yeah.
And that's when you're in a relationship or trying to repair it,
Yeah.
not during a breakup.
Exactly. It would definitely be an important thing to talk about if you do end up back together, because
But-
you want to make sure you're in a fulfilling relationship.
But the last thing that will work is saying it angrily.
Right.
Yeah.
This is also very important because there are very practical things that need to be talked about. There will be things that need to be talked about with urgency,
Yeah.
that you have to make quick decisions and you don't have another choice.
Like the electric bill?
Yeah, exactly. So practicing ways to communicate with smaller things can help you lead up, but there is that limit setting, as Margaret is saying. There will be times where you need to discuss things and things can't be left unsaid, and even for health and safety reasons. So I know this video was more about discussing maybe heavier topics, but start with anything that you can communicate that you know that your partner would be excited about. And start there, and then you can grow and build and use all the other tips that we talked about in this video to help that communication within your relationship.
It's not easy, depending upon how your partner is in a relationship and how avoidant they are, because not everybody's the same. But it's not easy to manage your own needs and your own feelings and desires with understanding that it's a struggle for your partner to communicate those things. You have to be able to bring things up and communicate. And it might not always be easy, but if you can be aware of how you're feeling and how your anxiety might be driving you to, be controlling or overwhelming and, talking about all these things at once, if you can start to kind of break it down and make it a little bit easier and smaller and less intense, it can help the situation and it can help you have better communication with them.
Right, and it's important that you don't repress who you are for a relationship. A lot of people with avoidant partners can do this, and they kind of lose that sense of themselves for the partner because they're scared that anything they say will trigger them or set them off. This is not a way to live, and it's not a way to have a healthy, happy relationship. So consider these things and really pay attention to that limit setting that Margaret said. I really think that that's one of the keys with making the relationship work with an avoidant, in fact.
Yeah. It's never going to be perfect, but if you can make some changes and adjustments and figure things out that work better for your particular situation, you can have a healthier, happier relationship. So something for you guys to think about. Let us know what you thought in the comments section. And of course, if you want to get our help personally, you can get my help at my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. Margaret is available for Skype coaching.
If you feel that I can be helpful, please sign up.
And Coach Victoria will continue to train with us.
I'll be here.
But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth.
I'm Coach Margaret.
And I'm Coach Victoria.
And we will talk with you soon. To get my help personally, go to askcraig.net and click on Schedule Coaching and choose the option that works best for you. I do email coaching or Skype. To schedule a coaching with Margaret, click on Margaret on the top of the page and order a Skype with her. For the Knowledge Creative Healing course, click on the link at the top of the page and click Get Started Now.